Any red, yellow, or blue that you use can be considered a primary color because we can't make them from anything else. Most of us know that from our grade school days. But we have what we call suggested primaries. So those are the primary colors that are going to give you the best secondary mixes. So the best green, the best orange, and the best violet. So let's take a look. We've got, for the Winsor Newton Professional Watercolour range, we have Permanent Rose. That's our suggested red. We've got Winsor Lemon, and then we've got Winsor Blue red shade. And I've got my little color wheel here. So we see our yellow up there, our Winsor Lemon. We've got our Permanent Rose here. And then we've got our Winsor Blue red shade over here. So even that name, red shade, it tells you it moves more towards the red spectrum of a blue color. And that gives us this nice range of violet to red violet if we have more of the Permanent Rose, and blue violet if we've got more of the blue in the mix. Same thing will happen over here between our green and then our yellow green if we've got more of that Winsor Lemon, and same if we've got more of the Winsor Blue in the blue green. And likewise with our orange over here. Now, the key point I want to make about that, and this goes back to my college teaching days, I would have students sometimes who would come into class and they would bring something different than the suggested primaries. And, you know, when I'm painting, sometimes I like to use the suggested primaries. Sometimes I like to totally shake it up and use something different just to kind of play with my color palette. And I want you to keep this in mind. If you use a different red and blue, or different red and yellow for that matter, in your primaries, some interesting things could happen. You just won't get the mixes that I've just shown you here in my color chart. You might get something that produces a little bit more of a muddy violet or a muted violet if you use, say, cobalt blue and cadmium red. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It might be something that's very, very interesting for the shadows in a street scene or something like that on the asphalt. You may want a more muted violet, but just keep that in mind. I think you can do a lot with a limited palette of just 3 colors, but then let's expand a little bit to 6 colors, still using red, yellow, and blue. In this case, this is what we call a split primary color chart. And here's a little bit different. I didn't do a color wheel. I ran the same colors across the top and then down the side, and then mixed them across in diagonals. And we've got Permanent Rose again. We also see Winsor Lemon again, but this time we have Winsor Blue green shade. So that's going to be a cooler blue. And then here we go to Scarlet Lake. This is a warmer red than our Permanent Rose, and I think you can see that when you see them fairly close together. This is a more yellow red. And then we get a more warm yellow with Winsor Yellow. And then French Ultramarine, that tends to be a blue that has a little bit more red in it, so it's warmer. So what we've got with a split primary palette is we've got a warm and cool red, a warm and cool yellow, and a warm and cool blue. And that gives us more possibilities, more things to explore. And I really think it's a good idea to go into the studio sometimes without the idea of making art per se, but just taking some of these colors and really exploring how you can mix them together and also how you can mix different ratios of them. And then from there, you can expand your palette by adding other colors in after you've really learned what this limited palette can do for you.